When you log in to create a disposal request, you'll see some items in the active tasks, and the active task list just reminds you of things to do. So when you're logging in to authorize a disposal request, for example, you'll see a reminder here. When you have finished or completed a task, you can check the box here, and the next time you log in, of course, it'll have disappeared. And so you can do that consistently to make sure that you don't have too many pending tasks here. And if you ever need to search for the tasks, you can come over here, the completed tasks. So that's just a little tip on how to manage those tasks. And they're just prompts to remind you of things that need to be done. So to do a disposal request, we're going to open up the Departments menu and click on Disposal Requests. And you'll see I've got one in here already that I did as a previous demonstration. So when you do come to the search tab, if you need to look at a disposal request, you can just tap on the line item and it'll drill down to the details. And so you'll see the information on that disposal request. So what we're going to do though is we're going to tap on the Add Edit tab. We're already there, of course, and then we can click on New to create a new disposal request. So the contact person will show a list of the individuals who are assigned to this department. There's only one here, but if there were more than one assigned, then we could choose the contact person, and that's the person who will be creating the disposal request. And then we're going to choose the disposal type. And the disposal types, there are quite a few, as you can see, but the one that we're going to look at today is this turn into surplus. That's the one you're most going to use. So we're going to select turn into surplus, and then it'll show you the date, and we can go now and start creating the line items. So these addresses, these buildings, will be the building name and number that is in the department profile. If you've got more than one address, then you'll see more than one location here. So, and if you see lots of things that don't belong to you, then you can start typing the name of your address or your building name, and it'll filter the list and you can choose it. I've only got a little information in here at the moment. So then we'll type in the room number, and this is the location of the property. And the reason we need this, of course, is for the surplus department to know where to come and pick it up. But of course, you still need to put in a certain amount of information if you're going to be doing a self-delivery. So rather than using the mouse to navigate through these fields, if we hit the Tab key after we've filled in a field, it'll move to the next necessary field to be filled in. In this case, it's the categories. And rather than having to browse through all of the categories, which we can do by expanding this, we can type in the name of the item that we're planning to dispose of, and it'll filter on the list of items that have that, or categories that have that item name in it. So we'll go ahead and select computer system, we'll highlight it, and then we'll hit on the select, and then we'll see computer system has been filled in the field there. If we hit the Tab key again, it'll take us to the description field, and the description field has a red border around it indicating that it's required. So I'm just going to put in very brief information here, but the more information you can put in here, the better it is, the more valuable it is for the surplus department, and it helps them sell your property at the best price. So descriptions are very important, as are images, of course, for the internet. So now I've hit the Tab key again, and I can choose the condition code. And when you're doing computers, for example, because things may vary, of course, but when you're doing computers, you may be required to create a line item for each computer, because it may has an asset number perhaps, or certainly may have a serial number that identifies it. So you could either, if you were permitted to do so, you could type in a quantity and so on. I'm going to leave it at 1. You can type it in, or you can use the up and down arrows. So we're going to do one computer at a time because I want to show you the clone feature. The estimated value field is really for unique items that the surplus department might need your advice as to what it's really valued at or what it's really worth. So it's normally for sort of esoteric items. The surplus folks know pretty much what everything's worth in terms of general merchandise or general property, and furniture and computers and so on. So you don't really need to fill that field in unless it's something extraordinary. The next one is the distribution account, and this is the credit account that you've entered in your department profile. There could be more than one, and you can choose a different credit account for each line item if necessary. But that's the account number to which funds will be sent when the property is sold if there's a commission due to you for that particular item. So the asset number, if it does have an asset tag, then you'll type in the asset number right here. And if we were hooked up to your asset management system, then we could look up that item and populate all of the remaining fields from the lookup. But in your case, we're going to just type in any serial number, and the model might be, certainly name, I don't know. I'm just making a model up, I don't know. And then maybe the computer, the manufacturer is Dell, and the acquisition cost might have been $1,200, not $12,000. And maybe it was, we have to just go back a few years, and maybe it was on that particular date. Now, these are not critical fields, but they're just useful to know, especially if it's an asset. And then what we can do is, if we want to, it's optional, we can upload an image. And so I've just got a little computer image that I put up here. And so you can take your pictures with the camera or with your phone and upload them to your PC or Mac, and then click on upload here, and the image will be uploaded there. And now we can go ahead and save this line item by clicking on the Save Line Item button. So as I mentioned, you might be required to provide separate line items for each computer. So in this case, we can just click on Clone Last Item, and all of the information from the previous item will be pre-populated except for the asset number and the serial number, because they would be different. So you could enter a new asset number and serial number. I won't bother doing it right here, and then we can go ahead and save the line item. So you can do a whole series of them by clicking on the clone item if you've got a lot of similar items to be disposed of. And then your final step here is to click on the authorized person. Now, this is the person who's authorized to approve this disposal request. And generally, it's going to be somebody different from the contact person who's entered the disposal request information. And I'm logged in as that person, so I could actually authorize it right now. But you'll find that this will be locked. This will not be active, this checkbox, if it's a different person. And when this save button is clicked, then that person will receive an email notification asking them to log in and find this disposal request in the search fields, as I mentioned before, and come in here and check the approved. So when they do that, just as an example, they would come here, they would click on the edit button, and they would tap on the authorized checkbox, and you'd see a little bit of information saying that you've wiped all of the sensitive information from computer drives. There's no radioactive or hazardous material. It's not part of a federal grant, so in other words, it's been cleared, so it can be disposed of. And then it reminds you that after you've authorized this, or after it's been authorized, it can no longer be edited. And the reason for that is that you don't want to have somebody authorize a disposal request and then have somebody else come in and add additional line items. So we're going to click on yes, and then the fields are locked, and the only thing you can do now, you can't click edit, you can only click on new. However, you can print it, and if you're doing a self-delivery, then you'll need to print this out and take that or send that to the surplus property department with your property, so that they've got a list of the items they need to receive into inventory. So that's all there is to it to create the disposal request. And if you go to this little icon up here, the view video, then you'll see a video. You'll see this video, in fact, that reminds you of how to fill out the form.